We're not going to put him to work.
Excuse me. We're on.
Good evening. My name is Mary Maslowski. I'm the chair of the Historic District and Historical Commission in the town of Harwich. We are calling to order our meeting for January 29th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Meeting is being held in the small hearing room at 732 Main Street, Town Hall. We will start with a roll call.
Bob Doan.
Brendan Lowney.
Lynn Zalisak.
Paul Doan.
And then for the purpose of state law, according to mass law, anyone who intends to record this meeting must first notify the chair, who will then inform other attendees at the start of the meeting. Hearing none, we will start with our public meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from December 18th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Any comments, revisions, changes? I think we had made some changes.
Their acceptance as adjusted.
All right, so Paul has made a motion to approve as amended,
Second.
seconded by Lynn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, so with respect to the demolition delay bylaw guidelines and review, really all I wanted to do for this evening was put on the potential of us requesting the select board to change the demo delay from 12 months to 18 months. Paul had suggested that we try and do this for this town meeting. I believe if we vote that recommendation tonight, they should have time to put that on the agenda.
Right.
I think at this time, that's the best way to start tackling it, and then we can start taking up kind of the other changes that we had talked about in the bylaw. As Bob had mentioned it, one of our other meetings, when John Eidman had taken a look at it, he had had some concern with some of the provisions we had put in there, like the demolition by neglect, and he was concerned that it wouldn't hold muster. So I think it is worth taking a pass at that whole bylaw again. But that being said, I don't think there's any reason, if this board would like to try and extend from 12 months to 18 months, that we can't make that recommendation at this time and see if that can at least get put on the agenda for
Paul
the annual town meeting.
Paul actually has it written up,
All right, perfect.
right?
Yeah. I just wanted to toss out one thought, or two thoughts on this. One is we have the ability to go to 2 years, and I'm kind of the opinion that maybe it's worth a reach to try to get to 2 years, and then if we have to, amend it or
On town meeting floor.
back it down to 18. The second point is, I've noticed with some of the towns that I've reviewed some of their bylaw changes, in a couple of the town codes, they actually use the day number rather than the 1 year. So it even sounds, I think, more onerous. So rather than up to 1 year, up to 365, up to, so strike the words up to 1 year and insert the words up to 540 days, year and a half.
Okay.
Or 730 days if we want to try for 2 years, which I think
You lose the
it's
day
an
on the leap year.
opportunity to move there, and
Yeah, you lose the day on the leap year. That's the only thing you lose by doing the days versus the year.
correct.
And we do typically put the
The date.
end date on the
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
So like if we voted it on the 19th of January, I would put the 18th of January, 2026 as the date. So, however you folks would like to recommend it, obviously town council will give their 2 cents and.
Right. And I don't know whether we have to send this to
right.
the bylaw review committee or whoever is now what they
Well,
call
administration
the code
is,
people.
administration knows we're meeting tonight for this purpose, so they're prepared to
Fair, okay.
have space holders, so.
Well, I'll move that we adopt this proposed article to see
Would
if
you
the
like to-
town
Can you read it?
will vote to amend chapter 130.
Do you have a discussion before or after you make the motion?
Why don't we discuss first?
Yeah.
Why don't you hold off on the motion, Paul, and
To see if the town,
No, hold on.
hold off a second, let us hear.
Bob Nickerson, I just think that 2 years is, I would agree with pushing that, because the fact, and you made that clear, that this board can change that if things are done, so it gives them the really big stick, and if they come back and say, hey, we're gonna do this or this, you can move it back, but you can't move it forward. So I think that hammer is really good to have, because it's, right now, I think pretty much they're all planning on, I'm not gonna have a year delay. So they're just coming in, figuring that out. Okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna get the architect stuff done, we're gonna get this done. We know we're gonna not start breaking ground until.
So you think the 2 years versus the 18 months?
That's my suggestion, anyway.
I mean, it's all gonna be what we can get past at town
And,
meeting.
all right, and if they don't agree
Right.
to it, but if you move it up, if you do 18 months, you're not gonna be able to sell them, oh, we just thought maybe you should try them 2 years. I'd go with 2 years and then see if they knock it down. That's, you know them better than I do, but.
Question. If we do the 2 years and they say no at 2 years, can it be amended at town meeting to 18 months?
So as long as the moderator rules that the amendment is within the scope of the article, then yes. So it should be. If all we're changing is the number to reduce it, then yes. I would say it's probably better to reduce than to try and increase.
But how would you do that amendment if, to get a
One
feel
of,
of
one
how
of
would you
the,
know?
one of the members here would have to propose an amendment
And pre-write it.
Yeah,
based on the,
based on the
and-
feel of the room.
you know,
Yeah,
when I
and
used
it-
to be
and you would
the
also
town
have to-
moderator, no one remembers that I was the town moderator. I ran on a platform to serve only a brief time because everybody before me, Alan Hunt, John Payne, had served for 30 or
Forever.
40 years. So I said, I'm going to serve a limited number of years. And my second point was to appoint women to the Finance Committee who have never been appointed to the Finance Committee before. So in my short tenure, I did appoint 3 women to the Finance Committee, and I left after 2 terms.
Oh, it's very George
Mike
Washington of
Ford
you.
took over, and he's going to be there for 50 years if he can make it to 2026, which is when I get out.
that's funny.
Are you serious? Oh, wow.
Yeah, can you believe that?
That's funny.
That's right,
So
because
the-
before I left,
so-
he became moderator.
So the question on the whatever you call it,
The scope, I think the scope can go down.
of the day is, who was the moderator in Harwich before Mike Ford? Nobody knows, see, but because it was
I
such a
wouldn't have
short
guessed.
term.
Well, I knew.
So anyway, here's my motion.
Well, I don't want, let's talk some more.
So
Um,
I tend to think you will have, I understand Mr. Nickerson's point. If you guys want to go for the 2 years, I would just be prepared to get up and have to make an amendment. And realize that if it goes to a vote and you lose a vote, then you have to do a motion for reconsideration. And it has to be done in the same night. So you'd have to do it
Yeah.
immediately. So
So be a motion for
No,
reconsideration
no,
or
I mean,
amendment first?
Somebody can amend this from the floor.
You can.
During
You
during
can.
the debate.
yes.
right, you
absolutely.
can, and that's what I'm saying is, but if you let it go to a vote and it fails on the 2 years,
Right.
then you would have to go through a motion for reconsideration.
Right.
And a motion for reconsideration has
Voted
to,
on the prevailing side.
Right.
You can reconsider.
and it has to be done on the same night. You
It
can't,
has
you
to be
can't do a
four-
reconsideration on the
It's
second.
4/5 too, isn't it? Something insane?
No,
On a
For
reconsideration, I don't think so.
reconsideration? Oh, I think it's really high.
So it's the amendment first.
reconsideration is 2/3.
2/3 of it.
Yeah, but I don't think it's 4/5. But,
But,
So, look, I am concerned too about the 2 years. I think that'll really raise some eyebrows. And it is a little bit risky. I mean, someone would have to be on there, on the, at the town meeting, prepared, just listening to the comments. And if
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
more negative comments, you gotta get up and do the amendment.
then somebody has to get up
Do you
and
think
say
someone
that.
would really,
I-
like, vote, I mean, like,
Oh,
do you
yes.
think it's on their radar to vote against it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
The builders,
It was,
the-
oh, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
contractors, homeowners, a
Yeah.
lot of homeowners that, hey, I want the option to do something.
In the
It
future.
it's gonna reduce my sale price,
Yeah,
Right.
because anybody coming in,
That's a good
could
point.
wait, so.
And the other thing,
I think there's momentum for 18 months, no problem. But I think and the other question is, did you look, does anybody have 2 years?
Yes, yeah, there's a few towns on the Cape here that have 2 years, but most have, most that have more than 12 have 18. Chatham, for example, 18.
and then you have a
but
town like Concord that has
Orleans-
6 months, which
Orleans is.
just blows my mind. Concord has 6 months. They just make the decision that
well,
if,
they're off Cape, I mean, they're, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple of.
I didn't know,
It's
I hadn't heard
it's the
any
upper
on the
limit.
Cape. But,
it's, it,
How many towns are left on the Cape with only 1 year?
I think most of them are 1 year.
I think that most of 1 year they had been.
I think what we found, and the reason why the 18 months was originally proposed, is that we found exactly what Mr. Nickerson stated. The 12 months is built into their construction schedule. So there's no
Penalty.
incentive to come forward and try and do something different. Certainly 2 years, you would think would do it. I would like to think that the extra 6 months would, because they'd lose a construction season, if nothing else. So, but I'm happy to do what you folks recommend. If you want to recommend the 2 and then just be prepared to do an amendment, that's fine. Yes?
Mary, I'm gonna back up, because I think you might be right. That 2 sounds a lot bigger. Maybe try the 18, and maybe
Yeah.
if it's not enough, you try it again.
Well, and
And I hate to see you go to town meeting and then you don't get it even when you go to 18, because they're all riled up.
right,
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
and I mean, we got some feedback, because I was here when we went from 6 months to a year.
Mhm.
And there was quite a bit of feedback, on the 1
Yeah.
year. So I think 2 years is just
Yeah,
too much of a stretch.
there's-
And we'll just, if it doesn't work, we'll come back again.
If it doesn't work, we still have a whole rewrite that we're working
Yeah.
on, so. So, okay, any more discussion? Do you want to propose your
Just
motion?
one other. What do
Sure.
you think about putting in up to 540 days then?
Then you might miss leap year
I
again.
think the leap year thing in the year, I
Yeah,
get it.
We'll take as much time as we can get.
And I think it may be a little confusing for the public, and sounds like, what are we getting away with,
Yeah.
type
Okay,
thing.
we'll stick with the original
I just think
motion.
the 18 months.
See if the town will vote to amend chapter 131 of the Town Howard Code, section 131-11, dealing with provisions governing the authority of the Historic District and Historical Commission to currently impose up to a 1-year delay in any demolition, partial or total, of a town structure which the commission has identified to be of historical significance by striking out the words 1 year in said section and inserting in its stead the words 18 months, thereby granting the commission's authority to allow additional time prior to any planned demolition and to act fully thereon by request of the Historic District and Historical Commission.
I'll second it.
All right, so motion's been made by Paul, seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none. Motion carries. So we'll ask Sherry to send a letter
Great job.
to admin with, if I could have that, please? Okay, section 106 is the next item on our agenda, the no adverse effect. So we have the letter from Mass DOT, which is regarding the Harwich Elementary School improvements. This is a letter sent from the cultural resource specialist at Mass DOT.
Isn't this the second one we've got from them on
I think it's
schools?
modified.
I think it's a modified
The
one.
last one was more up towards Howard Center and the sidewalks. And I think this one is additionally just for the cultural center itself and coming out of there, or for
Well, it
two or
is
four.
Main Street though, Bob.
And it goes all the way through, so. You're right, we did approve something about 18 months ago, I think.
Yeah.
So is there, does anybody have any comments or questions on this?
One-
You want to just accept this and play? Yep.
Because this does go in front of my property. When I was talking with Link about this some time ago, when it was first sort of surfacing and guys were out putting flags and so forth, in front of my property, I have a grass strip that is between, it's the town, I understand, and the town right away, I'm not arguing that point, but I've irrigated it, so it's a piece of the property that I kind of take care of. And, well, Link said to me that they're going to, it's probably going to be lost because they're going to have to widen the walkway, the park, what do I want to say, the sidewalk. And in so doing, they're also going to put in a curb so that it would, I'm kind of thinking Cambridge, Mass. Or something, where they have wide sidewalks with this granite curbing and so forth. When I read this, the one thing it said was that it's going to maintain the, I don't know what exactly it is, but it says that it's going to maintain the grass strip definition or whatever, border between the road and the sidewalk, which is, I don't know whether that's a departure from, maybe none of us can really answer this, but if that's the case, then, I mean, I'm not opposed to the sidewalk at all, but I was kind of concerned about losing that, that thing and grass strip in front of me, and a big wide sidewalk clearly isn't necessary, but I can understand where they need sufficient definition between people walking or riding bikes or whatever, and
Well, I think they have,
cars and traffic.
I think they have design standards that they have to maintain
They
for the
do.
safe schools, safe routes to schools. So, I mean, we can certainly ask for clarification
Yeah, the
on
A-
that if the
Yeah.
board would like.
I'm trying to find where that might be
The fall,
mentioned, but I
that would
thought
fall
I-
under the AAB, which is the Architectural Access Board requirements.
Right, but the question, I mean, I guess the question I would have is, so this really is,
My point there is in the paragraph that starts,
Oh, I see.
and are listed Harwich Historic District in the third line there. The proposed road work will be limited to reconstructing the sidewalk and grass buffer strip along the south side of Main Street and the west side of Sisson Road. Sisson Road, it's much more obvious, but there are places on Main Street, namely in front of my house, where this buffer is more pronounced. So anyway, that's kind of I'm glad to see that. I'm surprised to see it actually, because I thought there was pretty much going to be just solid concrete bricks and the granite curbing.
The one note I see here, the way it's worded, it's only saying in the historic district would they keep the grass buffer.
right.
And I think that's,
Maybe
It's just
maybe the
historic
escape
district.
clause for them.
I think it might be. So unfortunately, you know, you're not in the historic district, so.
Well, what they're
But I
doing,
can't, there is, well, is there a grass, I guess there is a grass buffer in the historic district?
there is.
There is?
Yeah, there is on Sisson, the
On the
beginning of
north
it,
side? Yeah,
It's
I
actually
guess
the
in
east
front of the
side
Hartman
of
building.
Sisson when it curves, because that's part of historic, and that does have grass.
What they're doing on 28, they're starting to do on 28, that's just a sidewalk, that's not gonna be as
Right.
wide. Okay.
This is just because of Harwich Elementary School.
Right, now, what I was just thinking is if that one's gonna be as wide, I'm just trying to visualize.
I think they're two
compare.
completely different projects based on different areas, and I think we were copied only because of the historic district
Yeah.
portion.
Well, I would move that we add that it should be where the buffers currently exist on the south side of Main Street. We can do that.
So we can have somebody reach out and confirm, but I mean, they're saying that the historic district buffers are gonna
Right.
remain in place.
I mean, we're tentatively giving our okay that there is no adverse.
They're not asking our opinion at all. This is just a notice.
Okay.
This is literally just a
Just
notice.
stating us.
Yeah,
This is DOT going to Mass Historic,
Okay.
so.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
that
I
the
think if
historic-
we're really concerned about something, we can pipe in, but I don't know that we'd get very far.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are the utility poles on that side of the road or the opposite side, where the sidewalk is, in this case? Are the utility poles on that
Well,
side?
they go that side of the street, but then they cross over to the north side or whatever, of Main Street, ahead of this point. They cross over right around where the Crosby Monument
Yeah.
building is.
Okay. The reason I bring it up, because on the Main Street project in Harwich Court, they're messing up everybody that's in that section because they're moving all the poles towards our houses. So they're moving them, so Barbara and I have been fighting this, and nobody else wants to fight it, so.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with those poles, because the poles on the south side in the historic district and just out of the historic district have, I mean, they're gonna have to be moved. They're basically on the street. They're on the outside edge of the grass
Get
buffer.
ready for them to move them on the other side. That's what they say the new criteria is. There were 40 guys out there today, and I was talking to some of them because we're having this disagreement. And so what I'm trying to say is, in our historic district in Harwich, I believe, stops at Bank Street, right? Which I wanted to go further because there's a lot of old houses all the way down to Stowe Inn.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, our house 1796, next one 18 something, and such, that should all be historic district too, stretched in. And if it was, we might had more firepower, but we don't because we're not.
Yeah.
But what I try to explain to them, because we have a lawyer and everything else involved in this, is that you have a landscape and you have poles there for eons, right? And you put trees up and you do this, and then all of a sudden, we're gonna move it 6 foot this way. You know how many trees are affected? That tree on the corner of Bank,
Yeah.
on the southwest corner, gone. So I would watch for that.
Yeah, so there's a minimum width and a minimum clear path.
Yeah.
So if you have, whatever the width is, let's say it's 4 feet,
Right,
in this telephone pole, you still have to have 3 feet of clear path.
exactly.
But I don't know if those are the exact measurements,
Yeah,
but
no,
that
I
would be,
know
yeah.
the measurements, I went through all that.
So it's 4 and 3, is that what?
Yeah, and it's, and they want to be a 4-foot sidewalk, and it's actually less than 6 at the pole, but that's,
I'm really
Well,
surprised.
The sidewalk
that
goes
they're not
down
doing it.
both sides of Main Street to the through the grounds of the cemetery on the north side, and to
Yeah.
Well, like Mary says. it's
Whatever,
really hard to-
Barry's
Move
place.
it. DOT is just telling you what's
When-
going on.
I'm surprised they're not going underground, because usually when they
Well, they should, yeah.
I'm surprised that they're not.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
I understand that, but usually when they do a full reconstruction, then that's the one time that they consider doing it. But if they're gonna move a pole again, they're gonna move a pole and,
Well, then the next
Where?
question is, what happens to all this new construction when they start working on the sewer line?
Poles come down again.
the dry pipes are in or you don't dig for 5 years.
Oh, okay.
There's a moratorium, so they either are putting the dry pipes in to prepare, or you can't cut into a road once it's been reconstructed.
Okay.
Okay.
So, any other questions on that? Okay. The next item, Paul wanted to talk about us having structural survey budget funding. The notion being that we would have money to do our own structural engineering review of a property. I just have to get it out there. I understand the reason that Paul likes the idea. I just don't think it is a good spend of our dollars. I think what happened last time, I think when we have a structural survey in front of us, we can either believe it or we cannot believe it. And I think the Baptist Church was a good example of this board taking a look at those drafts and saying, yep, I know it says it needs to be demolished, but we don't buy it. We're going to put the demo delay on anyway. To spend taxpayer money, I think if you're going to do it on one property, you would have to do it on all properties. And I think to spend taxpayer money when our only end game is still a 12-month demo delay, where the building can,
18.
or 18, but the building can still get demolished at the end game, I have a hard time spending money that way. So I want you all to understand my perspective on that, and I'll open it up to you folks to discuss.
So this is where I get concerned, because we have lost property, at least one that I know of, because somebody went to the building inspector and said, condemn this building. I got a report that it's structurally not sound. Issued the order, and the building was lost. It didn't even come to us.
Because they can leapfrog over us
They
with
can
that.
leapfrog us over us. And that is the one area that is a weak spot in our,
So that
Protocol.
is in the bylaw, and that is also in state building code, and I don't know that there's
Yeah.
I don't think there's an end game around that, unfortunately. I wish I could say I thought there was. I think ultimately we just need to build a good rapport with the building inspector and the building commissioner, so that they know that we mean business on the items that we put demo delays on, and that we expect to see them. I think we've had better relationships in past years than we did early on. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I just, that's where I'm coming from on it.
How would it affect the application? Let's say someone submits an application, we have to hear that application in so many days. We'd have to have some kind of mechanism in place for us to come in, delay that process, and then get someone out there to
You've got to
do
get
the
them
engineering.
to, you've got to
So
get
you're
them,
extending them 3 months. Would that not fly?
you're gonna have to get them to agree to
Yeah.
an extension, most likely.
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Please.
I think there's a middle route here. There are fellow communities here on the Cape that actually have a on-board consultant that services the historic district commissions and provides guidance when needed. Recently, Bob had promoted the cost and the project to identifying homes that should be on the state registry. And that's a cost that we bear. I think if we avoid saying it's sort of like to challenge engineering report and phrase it more in the sense that we want the funds to have the ability to call on professional guidance for whatever purpose that the commission deems is appropriate. It might be surveying homes in one case. It might be doing our own in the lack of an engineering report, or maybe even challenging one that seems on its face a shoddy job. I'll say shoddy rather than another word. But so what I was proposing in reflecting kind of on this, and your point earlier about you can't do it for one and not all, I think you can, because you can say there's certain, I mean, in my knowledge, the only time I've ever sort of felt the need to have this done is with the West Harwich Baptist Church issue. So what is it, 1 in 100 maybe times a year. So anyway, but I think having somebody on a kind of quasi-retainer or whatever, not really a staff person, but somebody who we could call upon when we need it. I said to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $25,000 to allow the Historic District, the Historical Commission, to retain, when needed, the services of a historic preservation / structural engineering consultant to assist the commission with its structural preservation responsibilities or other purposes. Said funds to be expended under the direction of the HDHC and to act fully thereon. So that we kind of broaden its application, and I don't know how we paid for the survey. That
CPC.
We did
funds.
CPC funds.
Okay,
That's a little
and that's
different.
another
That's a
thing
little
we
different,
could
yeah.
say, or request CPC, or have us request CPC funds, which I think is an equally valid route to travel. But having the person on staff, let's say, or on retainer, gives us the time saver of, rather than trying to go out and find other means to raise money when there's some urgency to it, or not having to wait till the May period when CPC allocates its annual appropriations of grants. So that was kind of the approach I thought might.
So are you talking more like when an application, so kind of like we do with planning board, the town planner gives us a staff report. So, I mean, I suppose we could ask to see if, we don't have a town engineer, so that's all outsourced right now. So to see if they have a structural engineer on staff that would be willing to review the reports and
Well, when,
maybe-
when necessary. I mean, I don't expect to send every report to them, but there might be other purposes that come up. For example, I'm hopeful. I didn't want to flood us with because I've got one more to raise tonight. But one other thought I had was to initiate the process of seeking to expand the historic district in the town, in Harwich Center and down Bank into Harwich Port. Now, that's going to take some time and effort and a person working, researching and so forth. So I see the possibility, let's say, of us needing funds for a variety of purposes. With respect to the West Harwich Baptist Church, I'm kind of, I made a phone call to a friend of mine who's DeWitt Davenport, who runs Davenport Companies, to see if he could move Viera at all, or have a revisit, or react positively to our ability to propose, not our meaning the commission, but our meaning the town, a survey done by a neutral party, let's say. Well, he listened, and we talked for over an hour, but in the bottom end, it's a
We did what we-
no-go. He's not.
We did what we could on the Baptist church, and we have, there are wins.
I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars sunk into this. The town's thrown everything possible at me. Do you know we're one of the largest taxpayers in the town, and this is the way we get treated? And so, I mean, he wasn't bitter to me, but he was forceful in his comments to me. I asked him, would he consider, first, would he grant us access to the church or provide us with access? Because if Bob and I go out and fund the program or whatever, to have the survey done, if the person can't get into the church, we're at a dead end. Absolutely not. He won't even consider it. So, I'd like to insert.
I have to say, I don't know that that's, if I was the property owner, that I wouldn't feel the same way, because they've got their stake in the game. So we did what we could under our bylaw.
But
To the-
technically, they're not the property owner yet. They have agreements.
They're standing in the place of the property
Well,
owner, and they've
they have a
spent,
signed PNS, so
Yeah.
and
that is a contract.
and they have spent money
Yeah.
to get to where they are. So they're coming through the process, and we did the maximum we're allowed under our bylaw.
I tried the approach of saying.
I understand. It
No,
just,
but I was just gonna say, I wasn't trying to say, we want to bust in here and do our own survey and force you. My approach to him really was a little higher road, and that was think of the goodwill in the community. If you can come up with a creative way, saving the building and making it work to your advantage. I'm not interested in having somebody else come in and try to do, you do the work, but use the existing building. And if our survey can show that the building is sustainable, why can't we at least demonstrate that to you? I'm not interested in it, he said. We've got our plan, we've got the housing.
and that's no different than, it's no different than the homeowner on Bay Road that
Davis
is
Lane.
gonna wait the 12 months.
Yeah.
It's what we
Well,
Yeah,
face.
that's what we
It's what we
I
face.
agree, but, okay, so
That being said, I will say, I don't think $25,000 is an unreasonable ask for us to have some funding to deal with issues as they come up. Which is, I think, a different thing than saying,
right,
we want to go in and do our own structural survey because we don't like yours.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's.
So if that's what we're talking about, I think that, that we can certainly take that vote and make that request for the budget. I did prepare administration that request might be coming through.
And there are other, excuse me.
Yeah. First of all, have you searched, do other towns do this?
Yes,
or
they do,
commission?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked Mike Ford the other day, I was talking to
Okay,
him.
and, yeah.
And they have people, on consultant.
Yeah, I mean, I like it, I consider this like the CPC, is that they have a administrative fund,
Right.
they vote. Now, they have to vote it every year, I think, right?
We have to spend it every year, it's gone.
Right, and I don't know how that works under this agreement, because doesn't if you put in a motion to spend, I don't know if it can stay there forever. And like,
You mean we
So-
don't
he's asking
spend
for
it
a
one year?
one-time. He's
Yeah, we
asking
just
for one time.
Revolving.
Right.
funds.
So I think it's something that would have to be built into the regular budget for us to have
Right.
on an ongoing basis. Administration funds through CPC, no, it would be a one-time and be done.
Well, the church is,
But we vote it every year, right? The administrative fund, and it disappears if we
You-
don't use it? Or not?
You'd have to request, but who knows?
No.
But that fund can only be max of 5% of your levy, of your amount too, so.
Yeah,
what do
but
we
it's
usually-
still an amount.
Yeah, but it's like $50,000, it's not,
Yeah, but
it's not 2.25.
Well, we're not gonna.
It's not
we're
25.
Oh,
We can,
see.
I mean, I think we can ask both. We don't have an application in for CPC yet.
No, I'm not saying going to the CPC. We did that in the past. for
Right.
Moving something.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah,
But we've never asked for it again.
right.
And that's something we should consider in the future,
Mm-hmm.
is to set aside money to do that.
To build a fund to be
But
able
I'm
to do
just
that.
talking about administrative fees, that, how would that work with us?
Are you saying we're worried about, let's say we don't spend the money and then we
Yeah.
need to ask for it again next year?
Yeah, I think
Well,
you're
the
gonna build
money
it.
that's excuse me.
I think you're gonna build a budget. You're just gonna,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's a problem with that. You ask for $25,000-$30,000 a year for staffing fees to assist with guidance on historic matters.
And
I
the
think
ch-
that makes sense.
And the church
What,
is,
the way I originally understood Paul's request was to, in the situation like the church, was to go in and pay for our own assessment. And that, that scenario, I don't think, doesn't work in my mind.
And what is the procedural about, would they have to bring suit against us if they don't like our decision? Say we put a moratorium on it. Is there any recourse to sue us?
Sure.
Is it, I mean, I didn't know.
I
They
think there
can't-
is, sure.
There's no other procedures they can go around this
No.
to the select.
No, it would be an appeal.
And when you say, okay, an appeal, but if there's no formal appeal process designated,
No.
like in the planning board there is. isn't
Yeah,
there?
no, it's not like a 20-day wait period or anything like that, no. But it's just a matter that, why would you bother? Because it's a 12-month delay, so by the time, it's not gonna
No, I
get.
understand, but say it's 18 months and
Yeah,
stuff like
even that, you're not gonna get a case tracked through the courts in 18 months on an
Okay.
appeal of anything, so, they're just gonna wait it out.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
mean,
that,
I've always, I absolutely agree we should have an administrative account that we can use
Yep.
at our discretion.
yeah, and I don't think there's a problem in asking for that.
and the church is a perfect example from the meeting a couple of weeks ago. Here, we have Davenport with their thing that says it's got to go, and then we have independent people coming up and saying, we've taken a look at stuff, and it is sound. So there's a conflict there, and being able to
Yeah, but
take another
Right,
step.
but
we only
the
need-
end result, the only decision you
right.
could
I know,
make
I know,
was the 12 months and the 18 months.
I know.
So
it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
Right.
I totally get that.
So that's the piece that I struggle with. I do agree with Paul's point that there may be circumstances where you do need some staff assistance that we just don't have right now.
Right.
So I'm fine with that. I struggle with do our own independent, because it's never independent when it's on our behalf.
Apparently there's a guy by the name of Bray or Dre or somebody
Yeah.
who
Yeah, he's very
plays
famous.
this role for several of the towns here on the Cape.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll just touch up the wording and get it. Do we want
Yeah, do you wanna just-
consider it again?
Yeah, just make the motion.
Okay, so I'll move that we.
Yeah, Bob, did you want to?
I just want to make a point here, and I'm not trying to trash the engineers on that other project, but they weren't even in the building. So to try to make an assessment of that level and not actually be in the building is, in my opinion, very questionable. So how can you do that if you can't go in and see the structure and stuff? And what they saw were pictures of the building with the roof down, and then, so I don't want to get down that whole road. And I'm saying, if you had this mechanism, just the threat of you having the ability to go in and hire a third party prior to having a meeting with them, because you thought this is a really important structure, might make them more honest and doing a better detailed job.
Can't agree with you, yeah.
No, and I don't disagree with that, with the kind of the upfront check on certain items. I just, like I said,
Could have been absolutely
where I
right.
struggle is, it's, if you're saying you're gonna do it on all demo buildings,
Yeah, I wouldn't do it all.
if you're gonna do it on one, I think you do, you run into an applicant that says, I couldn't afford a structural engineer, but I want to demo my house. Do you say, do you fund it for them? Do you, so that's where, that's where the
Well, I guess-
rubber meets the road for me, and I have a hard time
No,
with it.
if someone came to us and said that, I'm not gonna hire a structural engineer, we just slap a,
12 months
a
delay,
fund or
exactly.
whatever,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Exactly.
We wouldn't bother doing our own survey.
No, but I do think there is value in having some funds available to us, so we'll,
Label it as general.
yeah, you want to make the motion and we'll,
Right, and, so we'll submit this. By the way, one thing I did, when talking with Mike the other day about this, he said, one thing you might want to do is, it's okay to submit it from the Historic Commission, it then appears before the selectmen. But you never know what the selectmen are gonna do, and if you get submitted with the historic, but include 10 signatures, that has to be in the town warrant. If 10, the selectmen can take or leave something submitted by the historical commission or submitted by the planning board.
you're too late for petition. The deadline was, I think, January 5th.
Oh, is it,
Yeah.
oh, for 10 signatures?
Yeah, it's early.
I thought
But
it
the
was in
deadline
February.
for town meeting on a petition, I'm pretty sure is early. I think it's,
Okay,
I
I thought
think it's the
with
beginning of
May,
January.
They moved it back to
I
February.
don't think so. Give me a second, I can
Okay,
look it up.
well, anyway, so if they kick it out, well,
Okay.
we tried. To see if the
I
town.
mean, the hope is that they build it into the budget,
Right.
that administration builds it into the budget, and then doesn't have to be necessarily a separate article.
Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead.
To
I'm
see if
just
the
looking at
town
my
will vote
code.
to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $25,000 to allow the historical district and historical commission to retain, when needed, the services of a historic preservation structural consultant or other. I forgot to put that in. To assist the commission with its structural preservation responsibilities, said funds to be expended under the direction of the Historic District Commission and to act fully thereon.
So.
Want to add
my-
like general
my
administration?
comment is not to necessarily target that, just say for administrative purposes.
Administrative.
Instead of saying specifically for structural engineer.
Oh.
Yeah. Agreed.
You mean our structural preservation responsibilities? You want to say assist the commission with its administrative,
Yeah, exactly. It's administrative duties, responsibilities, and not mention.
said funds to be expended under the direction of, yeah. Okay?
Can you reread it then?
move that.
Can you reread it as you
Yeah.
modified it?
The town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $25,000 to allow the historical commission to retain, when needed, the services of a historic preservation, structural engineering consultant
See,
or
I
other
want all-
resource.
See, I want all that out.
Yeah. Get rid of the engineer stuff.
Yeah,
Take the engineer.
just say
the-
$25,000 for
So after
administrative
preservation,
purposes.
preservation for administrative.
But I don't want to make it a, we want
wanna
to have
make it broad.
flexibility to be anything we feel is
Yeah,
needed.
that's what I think Bob's getting
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah,
you say
but
structural, you're,
administrative assistant is.
Just say for administrative purposes.
Yeah, that's what I, okay.
Oh.
So I'll just strike the, when needed, to assist the commission with its administrative responsibilities, said funds to be expended. So it'll read as follows: to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds sum of $25,000 to allow the historical district/historical commission to retain, when
No.
needed,
no,
No, take that out. Take all that retain stuff as needed.
well,
Just to say that it's for administrative purposes. That's the 25,000.
because that broadens it up so it can be used for anything.
I don't think it's gonna be an article. I think it's gonna end up being in the budget.
But that doesn't matter. At least this is how it
Right.
gets it started.
Okay. Historical Commission, to assist the commission with its administrative responsibilities and said funds to be expended under the direction of the HDHC and direct fully thereon.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll retype that.
You may have time to do a petition. I just hate doing petitions.
Yeah.
You know, on the same light, if I might, Madam Chairman, raise one more point.
So we've got a motion on the table.
Oh, yes,
You made a
I'm sorry.
motion. Who seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any in opposition? Hearing none, motion carries, and you can give me the form.
Yeah, but let me rewrite it.
As marked up. Let's see.
Probably won't
You
be
have a new
able
one
to
to
read
mark
my
up, maybe?
writing.
Maybe mark that one up instead. Grab you an extra copy.
So it's allow the commission
It was
to assist.
$25,000
To allow the
for
historical
administrative
commission
purposes, period.
with its administrative responsibilities.
She's got it.
I got it.
Well, I wrote
She's
it
got
in
it.
there, but I just figured where we should put it in.
So Paul, this is how I have it. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and or transfer from available funds the sum of $25,000 for the commission's administration, for HDHC's administrative purposes.
Perfect.
We
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So we voted on, we agree that's what we just voted on?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. In light of the same, I had another suggestion here. Bob, in his comment just a minute ago, was commenting about, well, just the knowledge that we have this available fund could conceivably tilt the scales in our favor sometimes when we're trying to get the landowner to accommodate the preservation rather than destruction. In the same light, I think that by going to that item we talked about several times earlier, to create a preservation award and to give the award annually, gives acknowledgement, credit, pat on the back to either the landowner, the property owner, the consultant, the architect, the engineer, who was involved in the project, for them to begin to carry maybe the idea of preservation has merit, and it will be acknowledged in the town, and people will maybe use my services in the future in terms of an architect or whatever.
So I don't have that agended tonight, so I don't want to violate the open meeting law.
No.
But certainly that is a reason and a means to spend administrative funds, if we so get them.
There you go.
That's why we would just have it be one lump sum for whatever we want to use it for.
Well,
But we can certainly agenda that to discuss about putting together what we'd like to see for awards.
yeah.
Let's put it on one of our next,
But I would.
What I was pursuing this as was a resolution, not a town meeting article for the warrant, but rather just for a sense of the meeting, to say, be it resolved that the town meeting endorses, so that there would be a recognition of the program by the community through the town meeting. It just was a way to enhance its impact. So I thought not make it a town
As
meeting
far as
article, but to
to do preservation awards? To do a preservation award as a resolution?
No, to
You're saying
make the award process a resolution. that the town is giving its support by a voice vote, whatever, a resolution
So-
to create or to endorse this project.
So we,
Has
we,
no legal bearing, no...
right, but we can't discuss it as the committee because we didn't agenda it.
Okay.
So
propose
I
we
would
put
say
it on
if
the
you-
agenda for the next
If
time.
you want that on, then I would go to Emily in the morning and see if you can do that by petition. These two hopefully will get on, but you can,
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah,
if you get 10 signatures for that, then you could do it.
yeah, okay.
And we could all sign on to it individually. We just can't deliberate it at a meeting when it's not agended.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So,
Fine.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn?
Second?
Bob's made the motion, Lynn seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Can somebody turn us off, please?
Lynn, your dinner's gonna be really dried out by the time you get home.
Yeah, this was
We
not
know
as
he's
short as I
sitting
thought it was gonna be.
Well, it's just sitting in there only about an extra 15 minutes.
I know, right?
Hey, that's good.
Oh, gotta hit the button.
Oh, the button, I forgot about the button.